Hey, Freaky Leaks. Welcome to episode 12, Like a Virgin, with your girls, Felicia, Maiya, and Francene of the For Freaky Girls podcast. Remember when you weren't doing the nasty and the boys were pressed to hit it? In this episode, we reminisce about our thoughts and feelings leading up to our first sexual experience. Did it live up to it? Were you disappointed afterwards? We want to know what happened, and we got a few responses we're going to be reading to you, and they're funny as hell. So first, let's welcome my co-host, Felicia. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Freaky Leaks? I am wonderful. How are you, ladies?
Oh, great.
She said,
What's up,
great.
Maiya? She's frozen.
Hey, freaks. How y'all doing out there? Mm-hmm. We wasn't always freaks. We about to talk about it today.
And how are you doing, Francene?
You know what's funny is, I don't know if y'all saw my personal post on Facebook the other day about a stripper. It was one of the things you did, Maiya, was like, what if, or your future, whatever, those little quizzes.
Oh, yeah.
And mine came up to next year I was going to be a stripper. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But then I came across this cup I forgot I had. And it says, I was a stripper in my previous life. Don't argue.
Hey. That's
Sounds like somebody want to be a stripper, don't
a little bit, a little taste.
Right.
And I know you ladies have something exciting that happened. Come on.
But like,
that's kind of
No picnic tables or anything like that?
no picnic tables.
I'm praying for y'all.
I did fulfill a fantasy recently.
Spill it.
Time.
Yes. So I fulfilled my so I've had threesomes before, right? But this one is a specific threesome. It's a male, female threesome.
That's a foursome.
No, two males and a
only
female.
Okay. Woo! I was like, girl.
I was the female.
Okay. I got it now.
But so I don't know. People don't know the difference when you say male, female. That means the males interact as well. Mm-hmm. So yes, that was a fantasy. Yes, it was amazing. I was glowing all the next day.
Yes.
But one of the things I liked about it the most is that they were so attentive to me. And I'm like, I am a princess.
It's all about
I do deserve to be pampered and attended to. And so that was actually one of the highlights of it, is that, yeah.
That reminds me of this episode. Y'all remember Zane used to have the TV series?
Yes.
Oh, God bless me, because Zane is like my favorite author ever in life, and I cannot remember the name of the series. But anyway, it'll come back to me. But anyway, there was an episode where this lady ordered 3 guys for her birthday. And one was like the tongue master, the dick master, and I forgot what the third was, but they gave her the business and like, and then they like took her to the shower afterwards and like washed her down and just put her down. You know what I'm saying? Just kissed her goodnight left, and I was like,
no, I loved it. I love being pampered too. It's like one was on this side, one was on this side, and just rubbing me, like just it was awesome. We did some other stuff obviously, but that part was awesome.
I'm happy for you. That's the bomb. That's the bomb. Those are goals. Yeah.
Y'all might as well call the funeral home after I have an episode like that.
I mean, why would you even want to check out after something like that, though?
Right.
Honey, it won't be a decision that I've It may not necessarily be my decision. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Two.
Like they stroked her so good, her body divorced her.
Right. Right.
That just may be what my body's waiting for to just decide to give out. We're just going to wait for it.
Like, well, that's all we needed.
That's it.
That would be a good way to go. Okay, so low key, true story. My grandfather, that's how my grandfather passed. Like, sweat, not that scenario, okay, but like him and his, you know what I'm saying?
And like Color Purple. How'd he go? How did he pass on top of me?
Listen, I did not know. My auntie told me like years later, because like he passed my freshman year of college. So like they told me that he had, you know, like they told me he had a heart attack because he had a blood clot that traveled, right? So that's initially what it was. They didn't tell me he was doing it. I was like, so when my auntie told me years later, like, yeah, she was like, that's what happened. She said, first he came and then he went. Girl, I lost it. I was done. I said, I ain't fooling with you. I'm not talking to you no more. So, yeah.
That'll be me.
You hear me?
And if I go that way, somebody better stand up at my funeral and say that.
You know what? I will happily, tearfully, but happily.
Right.
Be like, yeah. It was good. It was good times. It was good times. So, all right, y'all, let's go ahead and get into this episode because we already doing a lot and we ain't even touched on it. So, we'll move right on into topic one. She's playing hard to get. Were you a teenage tease? We're diving back into our teenage years to get a better understanding about the logic behind teasing and then turning away the very person that secretly turned us on. Now, raise your hand if you're guilty. Yeah. What do you think it was? Like, I know that like back, okay, so for me, teenage years was circa 90s. Like from 90, you know, on. There was just such a stigma back then, you know what I'm saying? Like if you was called like a hoe, like or people started, you know, like addressing you as, oh yeah, you know, she done got with this person and this person and that person. Like the stigma was so real. And it was one of the things that basically just followed you, you know, on into your adult life.
All through high school.
Yeah, I remember she used to be a hoe back in, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so I think that for me personally, like that was part of it. You know what I'm saying? Just the fact that like I didn't like you wanted to be accessible enough, but then like just out of touch, but then like, you know, still wanted to be able to like leave yourself room to link with that person, but like kind of have to make them work for it a little bit, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, like it was all of that for me. And I know like that was all over the place, but that's really what it was. Like,
for me, same thing. Like it was, you didn't want to, you know, get that reputation of being a hoe, you know. So you had to flirt on the sly, you know, like like, you know, just the little things of, you know, complimenting them every once in a while. Like, oh, you look good in that, you know, this game, you know, stuff like that. But, you know, you had to be discreet about it. And so, you know, as I got older and after high school, people were like, oh, because I was known as the quiet one.
Me too.
And they're like, oh, yeah, you got to watch out for those quiet ones. I'm like, because all my business wasn't out there.
Right. Because Cinemax had that whole Friday After Dark. HBO had the whole Friday After Dark, and believe my quiet ass was on it every weekend. Every weekend had a whole strategy to make sure, you know, my parents would sleep and all of that stuff. So yeah, you're right. You gotta watch out for the quiet ones for sure. What about you?
See, I was a quiet one, believe it or not. And I grew up, my teenage years were like the mid to late 70s, early 80s. And back then, I mean, you really had to be quiet about it. But what kills me is it seems like the women from that area, the same as mine, after we've been married and then divorced, it's like the hoe comes out big time, because a lot of us were married young and had kids young, and we didn't have those hoeing around years.
Right.
Which is probably a good thing I didn't. But, we didn't have that. So it's like, after we got married and got divorced and, put up with the shit we did, we were like, well, we don't give a shit if people are calling us a hoe or not. We're going to go out and do us.
Right.
Before we get hooked up with somebody else. So we had to find that in between, like, serious relationships after the first marriage. But my first time, I was like, it was some guy 10 years older than me. I was 16. He was actually the manager of my younger brother's paper route for the Columbus Dispatch. And my mom knew he was 26. Our first date was my 16th birthday. And we saw each other probably for about a year before he made any advances. So it was like, that was the start, because he did a few things. And I was like, wait, I've been watching movies and I ain't never heard of them doing anything like that. But keep going.
But keep going.
But keep going.
But it was like, we lived in a duplex, and my bedroom was downstairs in the back off, like you go through the apartment downstairs, would be the living room, kitchen, and then a back room with a half bath. Well, that was my bedroom back there, and there was a back door back there. So my mom and my siblings were gone one night, and he came over, and it just happened. But just right as we were done, we seen the headlights coming to the driveway. Girl, I've never seen two people put their clothes on, run to the living room, and jump on the couch and lay there like they've been watching TV the whole time.
And wait, how old were you again?
I was probably a little older I wasn't quite 18 yet. We'd been seeing each other for about a little over a year.
Okay.
But I mean, it wasn't like trauma. Like, he waited, and he was 10 years older than me. He could have been out screwing other women to get it off, but he treated me like, I don't know, better than I'd seen other guys treat other girls. So It was the 10 years that got everybody.
Right. No, I mean, I have friends in high school. Yeah, I have friends in high school that were dating like older guys, and we talk about that now, and it's just like, of course, most of my friends have kids and, have teenage kids at this point. And they're like, I would kill, if I'm
but I think
that. Like, I think but we didn't think anything of it when we were doing it.
Right. Right. And I think going through it the first time with somebody so much older and so much more experienced is what helped me to begin my road to being comfortable about sex and comfortable with myself. I mean, of course, my mother raised us very openly. She talked about sex openly all the time. Right. So, and then having that positive experience really helped me. Now I know a lot of my friends didn't have such a good positive experience. Mm-hmm. Right. And my second one was trash, because I like picnic tables, not swing sets. Yeah. Dude took me to a park and thought we were going to do it on a swing set. And I'm like, I do not have much balance.
How do you do it on a swing set?
They sit down and you sit in front. You sit facing them.
Oh, like straddled it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. But there was.
Okay. Yeah.
We've been wrapped up in them.
I've never found us dead the next day. Girl to be able to do that.
Excuse me.
I wouldn't want to.
I've had more cushion for the pushing. So I've never been small enough to be able to do something like that.
I was, but that don't even sound comfortable. So
not at all. Because back then it was like all metal and shit.
Right.
Oh no.
And that hot ass band.
I was a flirt back in my teenage years, but I lost my virginity very early.
How old were you?
Okay, so I always say, if you want to be technical, I would say the first time I tried to have sex, I was 10. I know. But I didn't know what I was doing. He didn't know what he was doing. And I had lied to him. That one thing. I told him I was only in, I think, 4th grade. And I told him I was in 6th. He was in 8th. But I didn't know what I was doing. He didn't know what he was doing. So I don't think there was actual, like, it was almost like kind of like just the tip type thing. So there wasn't actually really like penetration. So I don't really count that time as my first time. My first actual time, I was still pretty young. I was 13. It was the summer between my 7th and 8th grade year. So, and he was a little older too. He was 15. I think he was 15, maybe 16. He knew how old I was. It's funny because my brother actually took me to his house. And of course, wow. My brother didn't know what I was going over for. Like, it was one of those days, those random days we had off from school. I think it was like Columbus Day or something like that. One of those random holidays we had off, like, for teacher, teacher day where they had to go to meetings and stuff. But so we had the day off from school. My brother took me over there. Now I tell people all the time, my first time was amazing.
Mine too.
He knew what he was doing. Like, he knew what he was doing. So, like, it was amazing. Like, my first time was actually, like, the first time for many things I did sexually. So, it was my first time, period. It was my first time ever having sex in the shower. We had sex in the shower. We had sex on the steps. We had sex on the kitchen counter. Like, we were all over the house. And he had this thing where he turned music on and he would, like, fuck to the rhythm of the music. So for a while there, I always wanted to have music on, sex. Like, that set the precedence for me. Mm-hmm. But, like, it didn't hurt. Like, it felt uncomfortable at first, my hymen did break, so that's why I said that was the official time. But yeah, it was, I think that experience was so positive. That was like, okay, I want to do this, more. This was awesome. Like, I want to do this like this. I want to do this a lot more. So I think that set me up for having a very positive sexual life, I think. So, yeah.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I feel the same way about my first time. It was a month before my 17th birthday. It wasn't even planned. I don't know, just was like, let's do it. And he was like, huh? We was chilling like we always did and watching TV. And I was just like, let's do it. He was like, do what? Like, he was
he
like,
wanted clarification.
He was not ready.
Right. Define it. So I'm like, come on, you know what I'm saying? Let's do it. So I think for me, it didn't hurt either. It was a little uncomfortable at first because it was a strange feeling, but it didn't hurt. I actually did not break my hymen until I was like in my early 20s with somebody completely different. And that didn't hurt either. I had just got up. It was the first time that we had done it. And I got up and I felt something dripping down my leg. And I was like, I looked down and it was blood dripping down my leg. What the fuck?
Right.
But in all fairness, he was large. Large. But anyway, so back to both. So I guess I have two first, right?
Right.
So back to the original OG first. I was cool with it because, like, he was very gentle with me. And I was basically in control. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I was basically the one driving that day, that ride. I was the one, doing that ride, basically. Yeah, it was cool. Like, it wasn't the best sex I've ever had in my life, right? I mean, but, the overall experience, like, I was cool. Like, and the crazy part about it was, and most people trip out when I tell them this, but it just goes to show how close me and my mother are. So my mother had been in my ear. You know what I'm saying? Listen, if you decide you want to do it, you got to tell me, you know what I'm saying? So that I can, make sure you got what you need. We go to the doctor, all of that stuff. We get all that started. Now, my mom, was a respiratory therapist at Mount Carmel Mount Carmel West. Man, the day I came home, he dropped me off, went straight back to my mom's room. My dad was at work. And I was like, so you told me to tell you. So I did it. She was eating some cereal. I remember she was eating a bowl of cereal. Sitting in the bed watching TV. And of course, her spoon is going up to her mouth. And when I said it, it stopped. And I'm just sitting there looking at her like, and she just looking at me like, okay. And then she said, well, how was it? And I was like, let's go. And I mean, like, that was it, She was just like, okay. And I was like, all right, well, I'm about to go take a shower, lay down now. And I left and I went to my room. It was nothing else, right? So the next morning, my dad comes in the room and he wakes me up. And he was like, get off the bed. And I was like, what's wrong? He was like, what you got flowers for? I said, what? He was like, what you got these flowers for? I turned around and there was a vase with flowers and a balloon that my mom had left for me to like.
Wow.
Yeah, like, ain't that crazy?
Yeah, congratulations.
That is nothing.
Yeah, like, I guess, to celebrate that. I don't know. But I thought it was awesome. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that is awesome. So, yeah, my dad thought I needed to go see a shrink when he because my sister snitched on me. My sister snitched on me. It was mainly her reasoning is because she had just had my niece and nephew, her oldest kids now. They're like 31 now. But they were like, 1, 2 years old. And she's like, I just couldn't imagine if, my daughter had sex at that age. So she snitched on me. And my dad, he was like, do you need to see somebody? Is something going on? I'm like, I had sex. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I need to see somebody to give that to me again.
Right.
Man, that's crazy. Right.
So yeah, my parents did not have that.
Oh, sister.
My mom did take me to go get some. Well, I don't know. She took me. I don't know. I think I was already on birth control, actually. No, I didn't start birth control until my 8th grade year. So I think after she found out, she took me to go put me on birth control because she knew I wasn't stopping.
Yeah, we did the same. We went and had to schedule that visit, and it was kind of weird talking to the doctor though, because she was like, well, when she did the exam or whatever, she was like, yeah, where your uterus is tilted, so she was like, you probably will like experience more pleasure from, having sex from the back or whatever. And I was like, for real? But like, but it was weird because this was an adult, you know what I'm saying? Like telling me this, but at the same time, she was putting me on game, you know what I'm saying? So like, she was just like, these are all the things that you may or may not experience. And, she was like, if you're having sex where, you're on top of him or whatever, it might be a little more uncomfortable for you just because of the way your uterus is positioned. It's tilted backwards, I guess. So, and I guess that's really common, like for, most women's uterus is tilted either forwards or backwards and not like sitting straight up like we imagine.
Right.
But, yeah. So now, after all that TMI, so
that's what we're here for.
That's what we do.
Overall, it was dope. I heard so many other girls talking about how it hurt or, how it just wasn't comfortable or, how they were scared and like they couldn't really get into it. And then it was other ones who, did it and they was off to the races, and I think I really remember saying a prayer to God, like, listen, when I decide to do this, like, can you please make it not hurt? Because like, I've had so many other, like, I just don't want to hurt in my vagina. Like, I just really don't need that in my life. And so, yeah, it was cool. Like,
I will say I didn't have a very pleasant experience my first time getting oral, receiving oral.
Really?
Was not. not a good time. Like,
girl, mine about blew my mind.
I swore it off. I was like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not. It's like, because again, my sister is the one who talked it up to me. And she's like, oh, you got to try it. You know, I was older then. I think I was a sophomore, junior in high school at this point. And she's like, yo, you got to try it. You know, you'll see stars and all this other stuff. And she's like, just talking it up. So me, I'm a thinker. I research stuff. You know, if I'm gonna do something, I want to do it right. You know, so I actually recruited the guy to do it. I heard stories about this guy. He didn't go to my school. I heard stories about him. He went to another school.
Maya was pimping in junior high school.
I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I want it to be done correctly. Like, I want it to be good. It was not. I was like, I don't know what girls he done this to and what experience they had, but they probably didn't have none, because I was literally just laying there like, okay, where are these fucking stars that I'm supposed to see? And after a while, I was just like, okay, like, I made him get off of me. I got dressed and I went back home. Well, I was actually over my friend's house. Got snuck out of her house to go over his house because they lived in the same apartment complex. But
you know what?
I went back to her house. I was mad. I was pissed.
That's what sucks about having such a really good first time, because that second time, if it's a different dude, he ain't got a hope in fucking hell to remain on. That's what happened to me with this whole swing set. I'm like,
so mad about the head.
So wait, you mean to tell me that you did all of these things? Like, y'all did it around the globe, and then y'all didn't have oral sex your first time?
No, we did. We did.
Yeah, I did.
First time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we did. I'm telling you, that's some of the things he did to me. Was like, man, I just must have never really paid attention when I was watching all those pornos.
Yeah. I didn't give head the first time until my senior year. So
I did everything. We did everything.
We did too. And I think another thing I think is what helped is, you know, I didn't feel forced. We'd been seeing each other for a little over a year. It just kind of, then one night, we just kind of slid into it. There was no like, do you want to? No, it just organically happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mine had to be planned because I lived on the south side. He lived on the north side. I had to figure out how to get there.
Yeah, that age is like, what am I going to tell my parents I'm going to the other side of the county for?
But you know what, though? Like, I told y'all before, like, I had, how many did I say? 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 friends that were mothers by the time we were 14 years old.
Yeah.
And we were all born in 1980, just like step down.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a friend that had 5 abortions by the time she got out of high school.
Wow.
And then she ended up having five boys.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what, that chick was always sexually active, and she didn't give a shit who knew.
Right.
That's what we were talking about earlier. You know, you have
that perception. Yeah. No, most of my friends, I would say by at least our junior year, most of, not all my friends were sexually active by then.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we went to an all-male review our senior year. Like, we had to wait until everybody turned 18. But that was like, and we used to go to the Lion's Den all the time. Like, so I had a group of friends who were, you know, we were very comfortable with each other. Like, as far as like talking about sex and, you know, all of that. But like, that was, the Lion's Den was always our plan C. Like, if plan A and plan B didn't work out, like, okay, let's go to the Lion's Den and see what they got.
Yeah, Lion's Den was our plan A most of the time. Like, we about to go up there and kick it with the fellas. Don't work us there. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, but even though those friends were sexually active, some of them did not have very good, you know, first experiences. Yeah. And honestly, I think, and I don't want to say, like, some people's first experiences wasn't that good, but then they've turned into a very, you know, sexual person, a very free person when it comes to being sexual. But I've noticed that friends that didn't have, you know, those good experiences in the beginning still don't have very good experience.
Oh, wow.
Well, like where they just like it's very like they're very like confined and locked in, and only think it's supposed to be a certain way, and this and that. Like I mean, like y'all know we have this podcast, so obviously I'm not that friend.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't think we have friends like that, but yeah, I have friends who, you do it with one person, you're a missionary, you don't do all that other stuff.
And you damn sure don't talk about it in public.
And you don't talk about it in public, right?
I mean, I was never that way, like ever. So
neither. I'm an oversharer, so
yeah, I'm like a freak show to them. They're like, you did all that? No.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, if that's where you are in life and that's good for you, great. But, again, the whole premise behind this particular podcast is for us to be living our best sex life and having our best sex, now that we've all crossed that 40 mark and we're, living our life under different terms. So, if you're trying to change some things, holler at us, let us know, or just keep on watching.
I keep wanting to make like a little
into her whole phase after divorces and stuff. I think I'm probably on my fourth whole phase.
Oh my God.
At this point, I think,
I think more people need to be hoes.
Right.
I used to wonder why my grandmother was so bitter and angry all the damn time after she had her last child. And I'm like, she quit having sex.
Right.
Like, I asked my dad. My dad was 59 one time, and I asked him. I said, "Dad, how old do you get when you stop wanting sex?" And he's like, "I'll tell you when I get there." I was like, "All right,
yes."
That's the right answer.
Right answer. Okay, let's go ahead and move right along so we can keep it pushing, because we could chop it up about this forever and ever and ever. Okay, so topic 2 is, do you mind if I stroke you up? We're getting the tea from our viewers about how things went when they finally had sex for the first time. We'll also be discussing what advice we'd give our younger selves, and if we had the chance to help guide them through sexual greatness. So, give me a second. All right. Oop, I lost it. Okay, so while I'm pulling this back up, I apologize, y'all. Technical difficulties. While I pull this back up, if you had advice for your younger self, like one piece of advice, what would it be?
To have done it sooner. No, seriously, I wish I would have done it around 16 because only because I remember that right around 16 was when I was trying to gain my confidence to go into, young womanhood. And so I think that I just feel that if I would have done it at 16, I think it would have been even in a better experience and probably had set me up for better confidence at the beginning of my stage of being a woman.
Yeah.
But it's all good. I mean, it didn't turn out so bad. I mean, I still have a lot of confidence and it's never really been ruined, and I've had a couple of times of having sex where it was absolutely freaking horrible, but what we got to think about is some females, it's not just horrible, it causes trauma.
Right.
So, later down in their life. So, don't be forced into it. That's what I would tell my younger self. Don't feel you're forced into it, which I didn't. Right. And you should have had it done sooner.
Okay. What about you?
Even though I was young when I, did it, most people were like, look at me. We're so funny when I tell them how old I was.
Nah,
I definitely have no regrets that I did it that young. I know I was ready. I didn't feel forced into it, at all. There was no pressure, from the boy, trying to make me do it or anything like that. We were both mutually, wanting to do it. So I guess my biggest thing is, I think I wish I had a lot more confidence, back then, where even though I wanted to do I wanted to have these experiences, I always kind of shied away to saying, yes, this is what I want to do.
Right.
And made it more of, oh, I want to do this for you type thing, you know? Even though deep down inside, I'm like, ooh, I get to do this, you know? Like, I was happy I get to do it. But I didn't have the confidence to say, like, okay, yeah, I want to do this too. Like, this is something, you know, that I want to experience. And just, you know, having the confidence in myself as far as, like I said, I've always been, you know, on the plus side. So, like, having that confidence to know that even with, you know, I didn't match the, you know, what people thought was attractive then, I still had something to bring, you know, to the table, and I was attractive in my own right. So, I think that's what kind of made me shy away from having more experiences. Back then, I probably could have had a lot more experiences if I wasn't in my head about, oh, well, they don't want me because I'm fat, you know.
Right.
So,
But you know, your story brings up something that I've always been pushing for. You cannot determine by age when someone is ready to have sex.
right.
There's so many people that are so much mature at 13 than most people are at 20.
Yeah.
And when they feel those emotions and those feelings flowing through them, they need to feel comfortable enough to at least talk to somebody to help guide them. And then if they do decide to go ahead and do it, don't judge them for it. You need to be guiding them. This is the time to make it a positive experience, even if it wasn't a good experience. So, you know, when your kids are coming to you at 13 or 14 going, you know, I think I'm getting, don't do this, no, you better not, or let me find out. Talk to them, be more comfortable. So, yeah.
I mean, we always had a sex positive household. Not to, you know, my parents were promoted. Like I said, my dad thought I needed a psychiatrist after he found out I did. But, I mean, my mom, she was a little less, you know, critical about it, because I got my period when I was 9. So we had sex talk, you know, back then. So I always knew, you know, about what to do and, you know, whatever, you know, early. So I think by the time I did turn 13, it was just like, okay, I've watched all these videos, you know, snuck and watched all these videos, you know, found my dad's porn stash, you know, watched other videos, watched Cinemax and HBO and all of that. Like, I want to experience it for myself. So, yeah, I was exposed early, you know, which I think, but the thing is, even though I had sex early, I was still like a child, you know, like I still did kid things. Like I think at that age, I was probably still playing with Barbies or something, you know.
Hey, you were still having fun.
You know, double dutching outside or whatever, riding my bikes around the neighborhood with my friends. So I was still doing kid stuff. Like, and I don't think it made me like mature too much, but I knew I was ready to experience it and try it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love your story.
I'm glad. I'm actually glad that you all said that, because I think what I would tell my younger self is to definitely just be you. Like, I think I would have been more expressive sexually. I think that I would have spoken up and advocated more for, you know, my folks. Like, I spent most of my 20s not having orgasms.
Right.
When I was having sex. Right. So I just feel like, yeah, you know, I would probably be like, no, you do you. So if you want to, you know, get out there and do what you want to do and just explore what you know, what it is that you want to do. And don't worry about what everybody else thinks about what you're doing. Because most people didn't know what I was doing half the damn time anyway. You know what I'm saying? So,
exactly.
Yeah, like, definitely I would be like, girl, go fuck some more. Like, go do some more. Go explore some more. Like, you know, find out what you like. I would have found out what I liked and like been more explorative earlier on in, you know, my life, you know, especially my adult life. I think if I would have been more explorative, like in my teenage years with it, because he was the only one, you know what I'm saying, when I was a teenager, like up under my mom's roof or whatever. But of course, like after I went to college, it was different. But
game on.
I didn't have sex enough in college. So, you know, that's the advice that I would give myself, like, girl, go do that. Go handle that some more.
That's the difference in eating out of a vending machine as opposed to a cafeteria.
No, in college, especially my sophomore year, I was out there.
Choices are endless.
Out there. Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into these submissions. We got a couple of stories, not super long, so I'll try to get through them real quick. Okay, so the first one says, first time was with the high school sweetheart at her parents' house when they were finished watching Four Brothers, and the washing machine sex scene really resonated with us. After the movie, we're declothed and coitus was interrupted by the sound of her big brother screaming about shoes. They were his shoes that he didn't recognize. We rush to get clothes on as he barrels down to where we are. He didn't catch us in the act, but he could smell the stank. So then he goes on to say, said sweetheart and I eventually had sex on the Cedar Point Ferris wheel at high noon. That's when I really knew I was a freak.
Now that's a balancing act.
Man, listen.
The first time on a Ferris wheel?
On a Ferris wheel. Yes. But what cracks me up is I think my fiance was just telling me that he had read a story where a couple got caught on one of the rides recently and got banned. Yeah. Like they was doing it in front of all these little kids and stuff.
Right. I saw that story.
Oh shit.
I saw that story too. Like she was trying to say like, oh, he dropped something. Like they were trying to like say that they weren't doing it at first. And then they confessed that they were doing it. It was a mess, yeah. But like, to do that in front of I can see if you do it and it's an enclosed, because some of those Ferris wheels have enclosed, things. And you could, I could see somebody maneuvering to do something. Or you just sit on their lap, nobody knows. You got a skirt on, nobody knows that you're doing something, but they must have just been all out there.
It must have been broad daylight, right? Because I could see at nighttime, y'all had to be broad daylight because all the kids saw you. All the kids ratted you out. So
I've done it in many of the parks, but I've never done it where kids could see me.
I started to.
With the picnic table at the campground.
No, this was when I was younger.
Oh,
I was messing around with a guy that worked at I don't know, some county fair or something, and they had those electric bull machines.
Mm-hmm.
No more needs to be said after that.
I love you.
Yeah, so it does. One word, Maiya. Symbian.
Oh yes.
What?
We told you about this.
No, what did you say?
The Symbian.
The Symbian.
It's like riding one of those bulls with attachments.
Yeah. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so that's what it was like?
Well, we never got to it. We got busted.
Oh. But
we tried.
I've only gotten busted once. My stepmom busted me and my boyfriend at the time, my senior year. We had snuck upstairs and we were in my room, and my dad and my stepmom were downstairs in the living room, and my stepmom would come upstairs for something, and she heard us. I think she heard the bed or something, and so then my dad calls me downstairs and he's like, what are y'all doing up there? It's like, nothing, we're just hanging out. And my stepmom got so mad. She's like, I know what I heard. And I'm like, so then they banned my boyfriend from going upstairs. Like he can still come over, but we couldn't go upstairs. So then we just started fucking on the steps. So,
oh my good Lord!
I didn't stop anything.
You need to write a book, Maiya.
Y'all so innovative. So innovative. Yeah. Okay. On the steps.
Ferris wheel.
Right.
Yeah. That Ferris wheel. That's crazy. Both stories. Both Ferris wheel stories are crazy. Okay, so let's move on to the next one because we just about at time, so we're gonna have to wrap it up. Okay, so this one says classic backseat. After I was like, what the fuck just happened? I remember being in my bathroom laughing, and I was like, oh my God, did that really just happen? He called me the next day and he was like, were you a virgin? He saw blood and I was so embarrassed. Funny time. She ended it with
I know a lot of people who have that same story where they don't tell that they're a virgin. Yeah, that they didn't tell the person that they were a virgin. I know a lot of people with that story.
But see, I never had the blood thing happen to me.
Yeah.
So
your hymen never broke?
Well, I'm sure it has since then.
I know some people don't have one.
Maybe I was born without one. Because I don't ever remember that happening to me. Because I would have freaked the hell out.
See, we were expecting it because I knew that's what was going to happen. So I was expecting it, and once it happened, like I stopped bleeding up, like that. So we kept going.
Yeah, like it happened to me later on, like, and it only was that one time, and it never again, like,
right.
Never.
And it could be that I just never paid attention to
have that story where they didn't tell whoever they were having sex with that they were a virgin. Like, I don't know if it was a shame thing. It's funny. Like, some people see it as a shameful thing, you know, when you do it for the first time. Like, oh, I don't want them to know that. You know, I guess they don't want them to know they're inexperienced or whatever. But
that part, yeah. But I don't like. I always just assumed that, you know, they just didn't. Either they didn't want to tell them because, you know, they wanted to seem like they were more experienced, or, you know, they were like, or they didn't want to put pressure, I guess, on that person.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
But even as an adult, like in my 20s, I would find there was a lot of guys who like that, like taking girls' virginities. Yeah. I took a guy's virginity once. Yeah.
Did you know?
I did.
Okay.
I did know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
I did that with my third one.
Yeah.
I took his virginity.
I don't think I've ever taken anybody's virginity before.
And then his mama found out about it, and she told him he couldn't see me no more, even though he was 18. He lived with his mama.
I mean, the deed is
done.
That's why it was the third time, and it wasn't only third time.
Right.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
but I will say my first time was my introduction into freedom.
Yeah.
It was.
For sure.
It was a good experience, and I just wanted to do more. So I will say that was my introduction into freedom, and here we are.
You know what? I actually retract that statement. Here's why. Because we had, you know, I had my first time having somebody perform oral sex on me, right? Was with him, but because I had used found up the massager and used it on myself and was like busting nuts on the low, you know, like before I had actually started having sex. So when he hit down on me, he was like, I didn't tell y'all that. I thought I told y'all that.
I think you told us about the massager.
You might have.
I could have swore I told y'all that. Okay, well, anyway, so yeah. So y'all was doing that, and I mean for a nice little minute, like before, you know what I'm saying? We actually did it. So when he was like, yeah, you know, oh, you just had an orgasm. I was like, that's what that shit was? I was like, I've been doing that. Like, what? Like, oh,
what does it feel like the other times?
The look on his face, he was just looking at me like, I was just like, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm trying to hurt your feelings, but like, I've been making myself do that like months now. So, but thank you, I appreciate your contribution. Oh shoot! Okay, you know what? On that note,
right?
I think it's time for us to wrap it up. So this was a fun episode. Going down memory lane. If you have any questions, or you want to share your first time anyway, even though we've already done the episode, please do. We love hearing your stories.
Yeah, put them down in the comments.
We love continuing these conversations.
Absolutely. Yeah. We might even actually, you know what? We are talking about doing possibly a part 2, but it's going to be in a different direction because, this episode was pretty light and airy about, the experiences that we had. But we did have a request to do an episode for women who experience the opposite end of the spectrum with losing their virginity by force or not by choice, so we're definitely going to be doing that in our next season. So if you want to share your stories and, get a jump start on that, you can definitely email us, info@forfreakygirlspodcast.com. You can DM us on our social, join the Facebook group. There's many, many ways for you guys to get in contact with us at this point. So
don't forget to subscribe. And share on those notification buttons.
Notification bell.
Yeah. And look for us on TikTok. We'll have more videos on TikTok soon.
Yes.
Yeah. As soon as we figure out how to make TikTok love us, because TikTok's feeling us our little nasty asses right now. So, but okay. We are gonna go ahead and sign off, ladies. Anything else?
I'm a little sad.
Why?
This is our last episode for the second season.
Oh. Well, I don't think we'll be gone as long as we were this time.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not. We will definitely not have to take as long of a hiatus. We can't wait to get back to it. So thank you for joining us for this episode and all our other episodes. You can definitely, go back to our YouTube channel and view episodes 1 through 12.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. In the meantime, in between time, keep on doing what you're doing. Have great sex. Keep it freaky.
Have a lot.
Have a lot. Have a good one. See ya.
Bye.